Hey guys, what's up? My name is Maria. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If not, welcome back. So for today's video, I'm gonna be doing a beginner's guide to astrology. Astrology is something that I have been studying for the past couple of years now. I really fell in love with it. I wanna say probably like 3 years ago, and I have been obsessed with it ever since. Kind of just a hobby of mine, and it's just really interesting to me because it originated so long ago, and I love outer space and I love stars and the planets and everything. So I've been dying to do a video like this for such a long time, just because I do have, I've gained so much knowledge on astrology, and I do want to share it with the world. So I'm really excited to be doing this, especially, if you are a beginner, if you're just starting to learn about astrology and you're kind of, curious as to how it works, where it originated from, what sun signs are, just like the total basics. I'm super excited that you found this video, and I do hope that you enjoy it. So I'm going to be talking about a couple different things today, mainly, what astrology is, where it originated from, and the characteristics that the 12 signs have, the sun signs that kind of make them, like, put them into groups. I'll get into it. It sounds really confusing right now, but I'm not going to dive too deep into it though, because I want this video to be, very beginner friendly. I'm going to be doing another video about all of the 12 signs, and dive a lot deeper into what their specific traits are. That being said though, let's jump right in. So I'm just gonna start off by reading the actual definition of what astrology is. So by definition, astrology is the study of movements and relative positions of celestial bodies, interpreted as having influence on human affairs and the natural world. So kind of just in simpler terms what that means. Astrology basically is the belief that the position of the planets and the position of the stars, they influence people's behavior and the events and things that happen on planet Earth. So way back when, the Babylonians were actually they're considered the founders of astrology. It's kind of like a tie between the Egyptians and the Babylonians. No one's really like 100% sure, who found it first or who discovered it, but whatever. I'm just gonna say the Babylonians because I feel like I've seen that the most in my research. The Babylonians founded astrology almost 2,000 years ago. It was introduced to the Greeks shortly after as a science. So I feel like this is also another thing that's like super controversial. Some people think that astrology is a science. Some think that it's not, that it's more so just like philosophical, theory or things like that. Now astrology is actually considered more of a pseudoscience. So pseudoscience is basically like beliefs or practices that are based in science but do not follow the scientific method. So I guess in order for something to be considered a science, it has to follow the scientific method, and obviously astrology does not do that. So it would be considered more of a pseudoscience. Some people even, consider astrology their religion. For me personally, I don't, but I've definitely seen that too. So kind of moving on to sun signs. If you are somewhat familiar with astrology, you would probably know what that is. Just because I feel like sun signs are talked about the most in astrology. Your sun sign is your, main overall, that's what you most identify with. So that's probably, if you are, somewhat familiar with astrology, you probably know what your sun sign is. Just a side note, I am a Cancer. So if you are a Cancer and you are watching this, hello, I love you. I understand you. I feel like, oh my gosh, I love meeting other Cancers, and just because I feel like we're always like on the same wavelength, and I love Cancers. I feel like Cancers are so misunderstood sometimes, but if you're a Cancer, I love you. If you are any of the other signs, I also love you. So moving on to sun signs, there are 12 zodiac signs: Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Libra, Virgo, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius. Yeah. That's all of them. Okay. Your sun sign is like what you mainly identify as. Kind of just to dive a little bit deeper into that though. So from our viewpoint here on Earth, the sun travels around the Earth once a year. So within that year, the sun moves through all of the 12 zodiac signs. The sign that the sun was in during your time of birth denotes your sun sign. So if you were born July 3rd, then the sun was in Cancer. During that time, it would make you a Cancer. So moving forward with the sun signs, the 12 signs are divided into different groups that characterize them in like different ways, kind of just to better help us understand them and understand each sign as like a whole. So we'll start off with dualities. So the 12 signs are separated into two groups, masculine and feminine. There are 6 signs in masculine and 6 signs in feminine. I feel like a lot of people kind of get this one confused just because they, you know, pertain like masculine with like boy and feminine with girl, which like, yes, obviously that's what the words mean, but in astrology they mean something a little bit different. Just because your sign could potentially be a masculine sign does not mean that like you're a boy. In astrology, a masculine sign is associated with, you know, being energetic and being driven, very, very motivated, very assertive. So if your sign does fall under a masculine sign, you have more of those qualities rather than, you know, like the feminine signs, which have more intuitive, sensitive, magnetic, very like receptive. So that's kind of how those differ. The masculine signs in Zodiac are Leo, Sagittarius, Aries, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So if you fall under any of those signs, then you definitely are more, I would say like more practical, definitely more assertive, have, you know, a really strong drive to succeed, and, you know, very magnetic and energetic. You have a very lively vibe about you. As for the feminine signs, it goes Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo. So if you fall in under any of those signs, then you definitely have more of like a receptive vibe, more sensitive, a little bit more caring, down to earth, things like that. Not that you're not driven, but those qualities kind of rule your sign. So moving on to triplicities. These are known as like the elements, the 4 elements. So air, fire, water, earth. So there are 3 different signs in each category. I'll start off with the water signs. So I fall under the water signs. So it's Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Water signs are seen as very sensitive, very intuitive, very creative, empathetic, things like that. Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces are all very similar signs just because they're, you know, obviously all water signs, but they're very, very different. That goes for all of the signs in each element. So then we have fire signs, so Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. If you are a fire sign, you're typically, again, very driven, very enthusiastic, hardworking, you know what you want. Just like the strong fire sign. Then we have Earth, which is Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. So literally, I feel like Earth signs are like literally down to earth people. They're very practical and, you know, very stable, logical people. And lastly, we have air signs, which I love air signs. Oh my God. I love all of the signs. I feel like I have favorites, but then like I don't have favorites, but I love air signs. That is Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. So if you are an air sign, then you are typically, you know, you're very intellectual, you're all about communication, you are very expressive, you feel like you have a lot to say and you know, you have a lot that you offer and you want to show the world. So if you do fall under air sign, that's typically what your personality kind of entails. So moving on to quadruplicities. So with quadruplicities, it basically explains how your sign interacts with the outside world. So for this, there are 3 groups of 4. So 4 signs in each of the 3 groups. The first quadruplicity here is cardinal. Cancer, Aries, Libra, and Capricorn fall under the cardinal group. What that basically means is that you are very enterprising, you're very innovative, you are a very, very passionate person. You usually go full force with things, you take initiative in a lot of areas in your life. Basically, that's just like how you interact day to day with the outside world, you know, in like possibly in your career as well. The fixed signs we have here are Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius. You fall in that category. Typically you are a little bit more resistant to change, but you would definitely consider yourself a perfectionist and a finisher. You like to start projects and finish them. So like in your career, you might see like a pattern with that. You have to make sure everything is perfect, and you definitely are more of like a perfectionist type person, if that makes sense. And the last group here is mutable signs: Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So if you fall under that group, then you're definitely more flexible, adaptable. You still have that perfectionist kind of tendency, but you're definitely able to adapt a little bit better than the other two groups in terms of like, you know, life changes, career changes, things like that. So yeah, that's kind of what quadruplicity is. It's kind of self-explanatory. It's not too deep or anything, but it's basically just how your sign interacts with the outside world, specifically in your career. The last one that we have here is polarities. On the natal chart, and the natal chart is a circle, and it has all the signs around the circle. So literally what a polarity is the sign that is completely opposite, so opposite of yours. So if your sign was here, your polarity will be here. Each sign has a polarity, so I'll kind of just read them off and explain, you know, like what that could potentially mean, and things like that. So Aries and Libra, Taurus and Scorpio, Gemini and Sagittarius, Cancer and Capricorn, Leo and Aquarius, and then Virgo and Pisces. So basically what that means for your sign, like with, I guess like with my own personal experience, either I'm a Cancer, so my polarity is a Capricorn. I either love or hate Capricorns. It's kind of just like one of those things, like since they're so opposite from me, I'm like, okay, like I can learn so much from you, or like, ew, get away from me, like you're nothing like me. I've met some really cool Capricorns, like I have Capricorn friends and like they're awesome, but they're definitely like in terms of like what they value versus like what I value and things like that. I feel like most Capricorns, I'm like totally opposite from them. So I guess, you know, like even like in a relationship, if you are in a relationship with your polarity, I feel like you could potentially learn a lot from them. It would be a little bit tough, I feel like, but you know, opposites do attract. So sometimes opposites do attract, but I feel like you could definitely like learn a lot from your polar opposite sign. So that's kind of what, I mean, the polarities is literally, it's not, there's not too much to it. It's literally just what sign is your polar opposite on the natal chart. So yeah. All right, guys. So that is it for today's video. I know that it was kind of brief, and I'm definitely going to make a sequel to this video explaining all of the 12 signs in depth on what their key characteristics are. I just wanted to make this video super brief and beginner friendly. I didn't want to overwhelm you with too much information, but I hope you found this informative. Again, you know, I am so passionate about this stuff. I'm honestly learning new stuff every single day, so it's really cool. I'm so excited to be sharing my knowledge with all of you, but definitely let me know down in the comments below if you want me to do anything like specifically related to astrology. But yeah, that's all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, and make sure to like this video. Stay tuned for more videos.